When I looked at whiskey, probably the big boys sit there, but no one is going after that. Even now, right, you will hear very less of whiskey startups. All the whiskeys are called IMFL. Why aren't we called just Indian whiskey?
Indian whiskey, yeah.
I don't know how to do this, so tell us.
I'll just walk you through it.
All these blind tastings I really worry about. You can come across really wrong. So, you started thinking most of the whiskeys, highest per capita consumption happen in, let's say, Punjab. That's your perception from outside.
Yeah.
It's not true. And the southern states actually
Consume.
beat the crap out of everyone else.
And there are like a million brands now coming up in gin, and
gin.
that seems to be like the new thing.
I might be unpopular by saying this, but I think India is not South Delhi and South Bombay. The price point for it in Delhi is 500 rupees. In Bombay, it is 850. In Bangalore, it will be 1000 rupees. The company gets the same amount of money to sell the whiskey. It's the exchequer that benefits.
What we love is that it's a large market and one that is truly ripe for disruption. All right, Shivam, welcome to the Barbershop. Thank you so much for taking the time. And so, given the business you run, 8 in the morning is probably not the best time to have this conversation, but we'll make it work. And I'm glad that you could kind of, bring all that is there to bear. And the conversations that we've had before this discussion have been extremely engaging, and big fan of what you're building. I think just at the outset, would want to do that. Just to give you a sense of the Barbershop Razor's Edge, I'm not sure if you have seen at length some of the discussions we've had with young founders, but what we try to do here is we are a group of 75 people who love working with founders, and this is completely agnostic of sector. We typically like to be the first check in the company or the second check. We typically like companies that have some traction, some revenue, some sense of product market fit, but given its early stage, can easily be figured out. That list has been shared with you, of course, and you can go through it. And the purpose of this is for the 75 of us is to learn and be a part of amazing journey like yours, right? And today is all about getting into your business and understanding it. And I would love for Rahul to introduce himself to you. You and I have obviously met, but then the stage is all yours, and we would love to know more about what you do.
Thank you.
Shivam, great to meet you. I'm Rahul. I'm currently a VC at Matrix Partners. In my previous avatar, I started and built out this company called Treebo Hotels in the economy hotel space in India. Before that, Shantanu and I were colleagues back at McKinsey. Yeah, really looking forward to hearing the Woodsmen story and what you want to do with this.
Thank you. Thank you for the inviting. I think it means a lot for me. I'll jump into my background. I'm Shivam. Shivam Ginglani. I'm from Delhi. I did my schooling here in the school called TD Goenka. Was a scholastic student in school. Went on to do my economics from Delhi University. Post which went to business school to study finance and business economics in Manchester. I think my journey fundamentally subconsciously begins from there. When you go out clubbing or partying, right, you pre-drink and go over there. So your flatmates or your batchmates, they come over, you eat a bit, you drink a bit, and then you step out. So we were mostly gravitating towards bourbon whiskies, which are comparatively sweeter. So to give you like a broad journey of a consumer, when they enter into alcohol drinking or this space, it's mostly more sugary. You think of breezer, very high on sugar. Then you start mixing your drinks with cola or orange juice or cranberry or Red Bull, your vodkas and your spirits. Again, it's high on sugar. So you want the high, but you don't want the bitterness to go with it. Then you might get into beers, and I think India for a long time had predominantly just lager and strong beer, and strong beer is 90% of the market. But I think there has been great effort by a few companies to push that mantle forward in terms of making it more varied in that sense. And then I think comes whiskey, wherein a person is either second, third year or entering his first job, and he wants to, like you were saying, feel mature or कि हम बड़े हो गए हैं, and they want to feel that, and hence whiskey gives that to them. And I think my initial part, I traveled the country, Northeast, Maharashtra, Punjab, Haryana, and just tried to learn and absorb. This was not the first thing that I went into, but concerning this, just learnt for good 1.5 years. I was fortunate to have a mentor who was exposed to the industry and met people from distillery owners that are worth themselves maybe $1 billion to people who don't even earn 5,000 rupees in the store. So met the entire value chain to understand what value does each person or say a wholesaler or distributor or a manufacturer bring to the table. So I think it looks very glamorous from the outside, but I think it's an extremely tough business from the inside. So I think my naivety, I would say, got me into this. If it was well thought out, I don't know whether I would have entered, but I think my naivety helped. And I think I'm fundamentally a believer that when there is something tough, that's where the value will also be. And since it's not an easy market, and that's the widespread perception as well. But I feel if done right and done with the right intention and done with a long-term horizon in mind or a long-term vision in mind, I think anything can be established. So when I studied the market, Diageo has built a $4 billion business in 3 decades. Pernod has built Diageo has built a $4 billion, Pernod has built a $3 billion business in say 25 or 22 years. And all in the last, with a couple of, I would say, these businesses have been built on the backbone of semi-premium whiskeys. So if to divide the industry overall, I think we have pre-established price points in the industry. You have your regular segment, which is brands like Bagpiper and Green Label, which are no longer, I would say, too relevant. I think Diageo has also hived it off. Then the entry-level whiskies are called deluxe whiskies.
What's that price point at?
So this is sub 400 rupees
per liter?
Per 750 ml bottle. Per 750 ml bottle. So I'll give you a bigger breakdown of the spirits industry first. In India, the market size is roughly $27 billion. This is from a research report by IWSR, a London-based research organization.
And 2 lakh crore basically.
This is a shy number. You will read, I think in multiple reports the number is higher, but I've taken probably the lower number. So out of that, and the spirits market is roughly 6 times bigger than the beer market and 150 times almost the wine market in India. So wine market is just 1,500 crores. So I think when you evaluate a business, you have to evaluate a spirits business differently than a beer business, than the wine business. Within the spirits business, the spirits category, 75% of the value is with whiskey. So that's,
And is it growing?
so I think it's growing at 10 to 12% CAGR.
On bigger base.
On that bigger base. And after whiskey, we have brandy, which is roughly 12%. This is primarily in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So 65% of all the brandy consumed in the world is in those 2 states.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember there was a study, I think, back in the firm. Where I was quite surprised that, you started thinking most of the whiskeys, highest per capita consumption happen in, let's say, Punjab. That's your perception from outside.
Yeah.
It's not true. And the southern states actually
Consume.
pretty much beat the crap out of everyone else on per capita. And they're very strong affiliations. For example, brandy, I don't know, even between Kerala and Tamil Nadu, I think Kerala dominates heavily on per capita, or is it the other way around?
No, Kerala in terms of person drinking per capita will be higher.
Yeah, so it's like this state drinks that.
Wow.
Is the correlation between literacy and alcoholism is that kind of
They have been
reverse correlation.
no? It's the most literate state also, right?
Yeah, so okay. So would I expected ki more educated should drink less, or should
Yeah, I would.
So they should drink better, not drink less and better.
Or maybe alcohol just opens up your mind in ways that Then other things can. But okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm curious about this, right? Does this include, demystify this a little bit. Does this include what is called Deshi Sarab or,
No.
unregulated? That's outside of this.
That's country liquor.
And that would be pretty big market as well, right?
Pretty big, yes, but it's state specific. So when you add logistics to it, you can no longer afford to sell at that price point in a neighboring state. So country liquor is state specific.
Understood. And how does this compare with, let's say, other markets like US in terms of per capita consumption? So on an average, this is what liters or what, megaliters of liquor?
So I would say there's no accurate data on this. Like maybe the colas have a more accurate data on what is the per capita consumption. So I can tell you that India is the highest drinker of whiskey in the world in terms of volume. In terms of value, it is of course the US.
I mean, that's because we just have like a lot of people.
A lot of people, yes, and a lot of people drinking whiskey.
I see.
They can drink something else, but it's whiskey that they are consuming. So US market is of course the most valued market in the world, more than 3 to 4x what the market in India is. I think the Indian market is growing at a good pace now. It's premiumizing at a good pace now. People are looking for better options. So to give you a breakdown, I was coming to the breakdown of say now so I'll continue the spirits breakdown first. 75% with whiskey, 12% with brandy, the next 10% with rum. So rum is in the eastern part of the country. So to give you an example, one state, Odisha, has more 55% drinking rum only. So when you want to enter Odisha, you need to have a rum in your portfolio to be relevant to that state. The next 3 to 4% or 5% would be vodka, and less than 1% would be gin. So
but then there are like a million brands now coming up in gin, and that seems to be like the new thing.
So
I think it's going at crazy rates and all that.
I might be unpopular by saying this, but I think India is not South Delhi and South Bombay, right? So I think
that comes out quite clearly. Probably know the market than alcohol, right? Both in terms of people's affiliation to what they drink as well as the price points they seek or why they choose to drink that. I think this is like the definition of many Indias within India. You have to, like you said, Orissa, rum, Kerala, brandy. I think comes out very, very strongly that you have to really localize.
And I think HUL has done it right. They've done it efficiently for the last. So we learn from them, and they're doing it in some other category. They're acknowledging it that different markets need different approaches, and first acknowledging, then working on it, and then going to market, and then again having an open mind to just continue to learn about that culture, about that space. It's technically a different country, right? So I think the reason for me to choose whiskey was that I wanted to build a large scale business. I didn't want to build for myself. I might consume more premium whiskeys, but I wanted to make a business that can employ more people, can be a larger impact. What can I do better that is currently missing in the space? So when I started this 2016-17, the journey, I think Bira was trying to bring in wheat beers and low bitterness beers or more flavorful beers in comparison to what was available in the market. So they were doing a good job, and I didn't want to be the second or the third in that space. But when I looked at whiskey, which is 6 times bigger the market size, probably the big boys sit there, but no one is going after that. Even now, right, you will hear very less of whiskey startups.
You'll see a lot of these kind of in the more premium. I have seen more in the premium. You'll see a lot of single malts coming out. You'll see Rampur and, some of these Amrut and so on.
Rampur is
I like.
These are from the stable of very, very big Indian companies. So Rampur is from Radico Khaitan, which is I think a stock listed company doing over $1 billion in revenue. And it's 1981 when they started. So they've gotten to this after 3 decades. I think they're doing a fantastic job over the last 3-4 years. They've cleaned up their balance sheet, reduced their debt. So I think they are waking up. It's just that they're waking up a little slowly. And they're doing it in a traditional fashion again. So I think there's a lot to learn from big multinational companies, big Indian companies. but they have a set format or set style of doing things, which I think needs a lot of fresh and young energy, and someone who is not mentally trained to follow the rule and follow what the trend is or the market is doing, and probably bring in some of their own viewpoint to the table, which is not pre-existing or following someone else.
But can you break the whiskey market down? Like
Yes.
like we were talking about entry level and
Yes.
all the way to the top in terms of pricing and what are some of the big brands in those and how people buy those?
Correct. So when I break down the $20 billion whiskey market, the bottom $6 billion is the regular market. Probably you can't build a brand out there. The margins are too thin. Again, logistics will be a challenge. You'll have to make in all the states.
There's a 400 rupees per
Less than 400, right? Say Green Label, Backpiper, yesteryear brands, right? So I think it's unaddressable according to me. I would not put it in the serviceable space. Then the entry level is a deluxe category, which is McDowell's number 1, Officer's Choice, Imperial Blue. So McDowell's number 1 from the Diageo portfolio and Imperial Blue from the Pernod portfolio. The price point for it in say Delhi, it's 440, 450, so less than 450 rupees for a 750 ml bottle. Again, I feel you need to be vertically integrated to be able to deliver this price point to the market. This is again $5-6 billion in its size, the deluxe category. Then you have the semi-premium category. The leader over there is Royal Stag from the Pernod. Then it's Royal Challenge. So Royal Stag owns the 60% market share and maybe Royal Challenge owns the 20% market share in this category right now. And 20% is other players, local players, regional players. Size would be roughly $4 billion. And I think this is the category that is growing the fastest in terms of adoption. So roughly the price point for it in Delhi is 500 rupees. In Bombay it is 850. In Bangalore it will be 1000 rupees.
Yeah.
It's same whiskey, just the differentiation of taxation. The company gets the same amount of money to sell the whiskey. It's the exchequer that benefits. So I think as a fun fact, I think we're the top 2 or 3 contributor towards the revenue of a state, on almost all states, all major states. Alcohol.
I love when you say we, like you make it a community of alcohol manufacturers. That's really cool.
So, semi-premium category. So Woodsmen, our brand, our whiskey, is priced at 10% premium to the semi-premium segment at 550 rupees for a 750 ml bottle. This will translate to a 930 in Bombay and roughly 1000 to 1100 in Bangalore. Then we have Signature and Antiquity to complete the 80% share. Again, blender spread sitting at 50 to 60% and the remaining 20% split amongst Signature and Antiquity. This is at 850 price point in Delhi. So semi-premium at 500, premium at 850 and super premium at 1500 with bottled in India scotches like 100 Pipers, Teachers, Black Dog, Black and White. So this is at the 1500 price point. Now when I look at these price points, I see gaps, right? Someone else might not see that gap, but I see a lot of gap because India is extremely value conscious, price conscious. So for someone who wants to upgrade, say from a 500 to an 850, it is not easy to do that and at everyday level because these are high frequency consumers. So a semi-premium consumer might be drinking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week, like almost every day maybe.
Yeah.
Right. A premium consumer would be consuming 2 to 4 times. Right. A super premium consumer will be 1 to 2. Right. And beyond that, it's ultra premium, which is your single malts, your scotches, Black Label, Chivas Regal, Glenlivets. That's 3% of the market, less than $1 billion. So when I see our focus as a business or as a company is the semi-premium, premium, and the super premium, which is 500, 850, and the 1500 price point. That I think if you want to build a scalable, strong backbone business, you need to be in the semi-premium space, whether we like it or not. We know of single malts that sell in the country because it's been backed by a brand behind it. So we might not be aware, but that's the strength of the portfolio, that it allows for more premium whiskies to be launched at a later date and to be able to give an entry into the market. So
people don't care, right? Like, who owns this? Like, you said RS is owned by Pernod. I don't even know who owns Blenders. Is it Pernod?
Pernod.
So people don't relate to Pernod or Diageo as the name. It's just the brand. They ask for Blender's Pride. Or
consumers ask for the brand, right? Yes.
So you can operate across all of these price points
We
with
can.
different brands.
We can, yeah. It's very difficult to have the same brand across these price points.
Yeah.
Because consumers in India will want that when they pay more, at least almost 2x more, they want a different feeling to go with the brand.
Yeah.
And hence, you have to have a different brand. Premium.
But the green label in the entry section.
No, that's not
not
the
the
same.
same.
That's not the same. That's not the same.
So they've like they try to take the halo effect of the label
Correct,
brand.
correct.
Interesting. Okay. But even there, from red label all the way to blue label, there is a laddering of a similar brand with different price points. But that's the only example I can think of.
Probably the only one.
Probably the only one. And I think kudos to them to be able to do that. I think Johnny Walker has done a fantastic job with that. Running for 200 years. So,
But I think it does one thing, which is when there's always a more premium label, the entry label, while already quite expensive, gets looked down upon.
Yeah.
Because that's my view, right?
Yeah.
Correct. That label by itself is a fantastic brand.
Yeah.
Like, could have been a fantastic product.
Yeah.
And it could have been a great brand.
I would agree on the blend bit, but yeah.
Right? Look at the price points, it's selling it. It's very expensive. But yet it's now looked at as the inferior label.
Yeah.
It's like being in a family of, high achiever, who IIT guy, doctor bana hai, and you are like, I was the, commerce topper.
So it's relative.
It's great. What are you saying? It's fantastic. But, I'm not sure your father's favorite child. So, maybe that's the only disadvantage. But no, but the point I was coming to was, I think it gives you an opportunity to play across multiple price points here. Would you want to do that? Start from semi-premium and do something different over time?
So we will definitely give it a shot. Have a more premium version of Woodsmen, but there is a band that I can stretch to. Doing a 1500, I don't think so that's possible. It should be below the 1,000 rupee mark. So that's the band that Woodsmen would play in.
Overlap of value and aspiration is something that like brands figure out very late. Like we figured out very late that value and aspiration is not really a choice. कि तुम या value दो या तुम aspirational बनाओ और aspirational बनाओगे तो महंगा करना पड़ेगा. ऐसा that feeling is there in brand, at least in personal care, for example, you have that feeling. I'm sure in alcohol also you feel that the more value you're giving, the more compromise you're making on aspiration and vice versa. But you're basically saying that you want to make it a premium aspirational brand, ladder up in this space.
Yes.
But at the same time, make sure that there is tremendous value on the table for the consumer who's...
No, I feel you have to deliver on the value front and what you're promising as a brand. So if I look at, say, the competition brands, say White and Blue or Royal Stag or Royal Challenge, their claims are no longer product-led now. They have become more lifestyle-led. So I'll give you an anecdote. So, and this is I'm just made up. Maybe when someone was walking up to a bar, and India में क्या होता है जब किसी और कोई और पिला रहा होता है तो हम बोलते हैं लार्ज पैक बनाओ, right? So some intelligent person must have caught it and said कि यार इसको tagline में convert कर देते, make it large.
Wow.
और
That became like a life thing.
and then it's your life, make it large. Success driven, success cues, like you found across categories that although I don't know whether a person drinking a 500 rupee product should feel successful, but that's the perception they want to, portray. So I think there's lack of authenticity there, at least in my opinion. And I think we need to be more authentic with what we are promising the consumer.
What is it?
Our promise is smooth. We will be the smoothest whiskey at our price point, period. There's no confusion in what I'm promising. I'm promising you a smooth whiskey, and the reason for that is I think consumers now, how consumers were in the 90s when these brands were being launched, early 90s rather, to how consumers are now, I think we are it's the information age. Everything is readily available in terms of information. So people ask more questions, and people will ask more qualitative questions now. And when they'll ask more qualitative questions, they will ask, क्या ये whiskey smooth है? क्या ये मेरे को hangover नहीं देगी early morning? Will I be fresh the next morning because I have to work now? This is the blue collar working worker we're talking about, who has to reach on time, otherwise a pay cut हो जाएगा. So he should not smell while going home, right? These are important features for him, right? That when he drinks, he should not smell when he goes home. His family will not like it. When he wakes up, he should feel fresh and be ready to go to work. He should not feel hungover.
And break that down. When you say smooth, it is the feeling when it goes down the throat in terms of taste or in terms of friction with the, like, what is smooth exactly?
So I would say, I think taste is very difficult to define. Like when I say, अगर मैं आपको भी कोई whiskey दूंगा, आपको बोलूँगा इसको आप describe करिए. I think master blenders कर सकते हैं, and that too with a lot of vocabulary. But smooth आसानी से समझ आता है कि यार ये smooth है कि नहीं है, right? It's drinkable, it's palatable, it's smooth, it goes down your throat easily, it doesn't create a burn in your stomach.
Smooth, by the way, is an adjective used only in the context of whiskey, fam, right? People never call a rum or a vodka smooth.
No.
Even if it's like the most...
They can, but
the people don't. I've never seen it. Like, smooth is very specifically a very whiskey term. I don't know. Like, and by the way, like, you're right. So you would have blue-collar, affordable, 3 to 5 times a week drinkers of this category. But I remember, like, my first alcohol experience was always Royal Stag. So when I was 17, 18, started drinking in college. And this was I'm talking, when I say I probably represent 200 people in my hostel.
okay.
All of whom would drink whiskey. Like 95% of my hostel were whiskey drinkers. First time alcohol, right? Like you said.
Right.
Couldn't afford a lot. तब 90 रुपए की निट मिलती थी.
हाँ,
$90 की निट मिलती थी. वो 180 ml. So we would kind of, like, and if there was like a farewell party or a birthday party and 15 people, so 15 divided by 2. So 7 or 8 nips. So whatever, 180 ml, right?
180 ml.
So 90 each, and Coke. And chips or whatever.
Yeah.
So that would be the budget for this, and that's how we used to drink. And it was horrible, but at that time you didn't know any better, so you could do it. Old Monk was a good, like, people used to say, hey, Old Monk is the other affordable thing we could have, but it was 90% was Royal Stag. And then when I went to Lucknow, so I went to business school right after engineering.
Okay.
And Lucknow had, like, average work experience in my batch was 3.5 years, 39 months or whatever, right? तो लोग काम करके आए थे वहाँ पे. तो काम करने के बाद थोड़े, even if they were like working in the most entry level jobs, at that time 25,000-30,000 rupees a month, they had saved up enough, so they had then gravitated to Blenders Pride, Signature, and sometimes teachers also, right? So मैं जब गया, मैं तो fresher ही था. I didn't really have, like, my affordability had not gone up by much. I just grown a couple of years older, but because I was surrounded by these guys, I would then save up a little more to drink the same whiskey as them. And then when you join McKinsey, suddenly you don't look below Glenn's, right? So I think you for semi-premium, I think as age and as you kind of can afford more, there's a natural progression of the category. I don't think there is an affiliation to the brand.
You described is how a typical whiskey journey would be, right? It's linked to your income. When your income increases, it's a signal to society or friends or other people that you have laddered up, or you've gone up in your income. So it's a signal to, like how a car is, कि हम पहले मारुति से Hyundai पे, and Hyundai से City, Honda City पे, and then Honda City पे maybe a luxury car. So it's a signaling mechanism for men at least.
Here if they're drinking alone, like a lot, how much of this drinking is alone?
So when I'll ask you, you will say a premium whiskey, but when you'll go back, so when you drink with friends, right? So I have different types of whiskeys with different set of friends. So my school will be a different set of people that will drink very, very premium stuff. So I'll drink accordingly with them. When I'm having whiskey with my college friends, it'll be a lower price comparatively, right? And that's just fine. Not now, but I'm saying back in the day.
So school was more expensive, is it?
School was more expensive. School
that
people
is so South Delhi, huh?
So guilty. But I think again, it completely depends on, what the person is earning, where is he at, and it's a signaling in a way.
What's
So-
people's attitude towards this? There's some categories where people want to spend the most they can. They want to get the highest access to the highest brand they can. For example, schooling is one of those. You spend the most you can. You almost spend more than you can because I want to invest in my kids' education, right?
Right.
There are other categories where you optimize for value or utility as opposed to, being at the most aspirational end. Where is whiskey in this? Do you prioritize volume or do you prioritize the best whiskey you can drink?
So I'll give you an example. When lockdown happened, what is the first thing that opened after the lockdown, and where were the queues? Longest 2 kilometer long queues. It is a priority. Most people will be, so 80% of India, or rather, I would say 85% of India will be drinking a whiskey which is 500 or less. So when there are 100 people walking into a store, 8 out of 10 at least will be consuming, asking for a whiskey which is 500 or less, right? So they are price sensitive. The next, say, one person will ask for a premium and that 10%, and the next 3-4% will ask for a whiskey of their choice.
In my view, I think it is not a choice of whiskey. It is a choice of frequency. So if you're going to drink 5-6 times a week, you're probably going to say, okay, this is like ration for me now.
Yeah.
You think of it like atta and toothpaste.
So you shift to the utility and
Shift to the utility. It just works. But if you're going to do it, like if you want to host your select friends from Ahmedabad after 10 years, you're going to bring out, that's when you will probably label it or kind of think about it the way you would think about education. Okay, I will really make this a great night to remember. But if I'm going to go to a store and pick it up every day, because that's my fix, and you're probably going to think of it like toothpaste.
I think how people think will be different at different price points. So I think how a person consuming a 500 rupee whiskey thinks will be very, very different from someone who is consuming a Glenlivet or a Glenfiddich.
And I think the use cases are very different. Different to the same person, but very different use cases.
Yeah. I think, a person who is drinking 4, 5, 6 times might be spending even more money than actually the guy drinking the premium whiskey on alcohol as a category or a spend.
Definitely as a percentage of income.
Yes.
But even in absolute, you may not be off by a lot.
Yes.
Even in absolute, a Glenlivet drinker might be spending lesser on alcohol on a yearly basis than a Royal Stag regular drinker, just because of just quantum and
Correct.
And how do people think, you touched upon it, right? People drink alone as well.
Yeah.
Several people drink alone, at night. They'll have their 2 drinks before having dinner. India has very clear culture of drinking before food, right?
Yeah.
Which is not very necessarily consistent with what happens in
The
Europe.
West, yeah.
How does it work? How does drinking alone work? There's nobody watching you. There's no signal to be given. Do people drink a notch lower than what they would drink outside?
I believe so. And I think the reasoning for drinking then is, I think people are, at least in this price point, it's not an easy job, right? It's a tough job. It's a tough day. So alcohol is like an escape for them. They want to think lesser. They want to release the tension, so unwind the nerves, right? And they believe alcohol does that for them. So basically depressurizing, like pressure cooker mein hai pura din, and then that sheet nikli and then it's released, right? So it's an escape for them.
I think there's a good brand opportunity there then, right? In a way, if that is the state of mind and you're drinking alone but there's no signal to be given, you still are talking to somebody who's had a hard day and your brand could say, hey, you deserve this.
Yeah.
It's fine. No signal to be given. I'm going to have a good drink.
Correct.
Because I've earned it. I deserve this.
Correct.
And I think that's a great brand opportunity for somebody operating in your segment, right?
Right.
If you talk to that aspect of that person's personality, right?
A sport drink for a hard day.
Yeah. You think about it, when we speak about Treebo or Bombay Shaving Company or any of these, they are very private experiences. Even private experiences, brands that are able to brands that are able to do that extra bit to pamper the consumer really win, right? And it's okay if it's not a signaling thing at all. But even in a relationship which is one-on-one between the consumer and the brand,
Yes.
if the consumer feels, okay, and it could be anything, it could be small things in a car, for example, where the consumer feels comfortable. It could be small things in a hotel room. It could be something with the foam. It could be something with a food item, which is individually consumed and not socially. If the brand does that little bit extra to make the consumer feel, it could be a packaging thing, it could be communication, it could be a small booklet, it could be a extra little bit of fragrance, it could be anything actually.
Yes.
The consumer then just attaches fully.
The touch.
It's a massive opportunity, even if it is not a single. In fact, especially in situations where it is single use cases.
So I think what I observed was people when they're drinking this, they keep the bottle below the table, right? They're not comfortable or confident keeping it on the table, right? So what I particularly wanted to do was to be able to give them that proud feeling, or rather you keep it on the table, right? Deliver great design, deliver great aspirational value in the brand, and you keep it on the table. It's giftable. You can take it to your friend. And I think, I don't know why should good design cost, like IKEA is, great design at great prices. So not necessarily a great looking thing should be that expensive. And I think I need to empathize with the consumer and understand, their needs and aspirations. And someone who is not able to jump from 500 to 850 on an everyday level, how do I bridge that gap? If I start at 10% premium, so that he doesn't have to pay a lot more to taste the whiskey, and gradually take it to the 20% mark, or in the longer run. So I'm sitting between prices. I'm not head-on colliding against big companies.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I would rather create a new price point and let the market come there.
Just a price point, you also talk in your deck about creating a new category itself,
Yes.
right? Talk a little bit about that. Where's the genesis of the craft movement? And you've talked about how it happened in beer and in gin, and how it can now begin in whiskey.
Can I actually make a small segue into I would love to taste what you make before kind of diving into the craft of actually making it, because then it makes it very real.
Fair enough.
So, do you have some stuff we can try?
Yes. So what I'll do is, again, this is the first time I'll make my whiskey against a 2x price point and a 3x price point.
Okay.
So I'm not making you. Of course, you can. I'll make you taste against the competition. Okay. But what I'm trying to do is make it compete against much more premium whiskeys than its price point.
Okay.
So let me do
will
that.
It be blind, or will we not know?
It'll be a blind taste.
Oh wow!
And then we can reveal what the whiskeys are.
Okay.
And I can show you the packaging and the look and feel of the brand as well.
Yeah. Okay, is that okay?
Yeah.
Kind of go into the corner.
I'm not a huge drinker, and it's 9 in the morning, so we'll just do some tasting.
It's 9 p.m. somewhere. So this row is competing with Woodsmen against more premium whiskeys, and this row is competing with Woodsmen against competition set.
I see.
But we don't know which one is what.
Yeah, you don't, of course. But
Competition.
we'll need water.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe you can start with, say, nosing the whiskey, and like this.
Are you going to do this as well?
I think we prepared for you guys.
Okay.
I'll just get water one sec.
I don't know how to do this, so tell us.
I'll just walk you through it.
Anything that I don't know about it's going to come across as so pretentious saying. There's no clue what, how to do this.
But think about it.
He has a very distinctive aroma.
So see, again, you can. This is neat whiskey. So I think, of course, we can't have neat whiskey. So this is 30 ml each. I'm pouring a 1:1 ratio.
4:1 or something like that.
No, that will be too diluted.
No, it's 4 whiskeys to 1. Like, I just add a tiny bit of water. Isn't that the right dilution for it?
No, I think 1:1 ratio is how you test a whiskey out.
Okay.
2 is a little sweeter, and this is the premium one, or this is the competitor one? The premium ones.
Premium ones.
You're like the one guy on MasterChef who knows a little bit about what they're doing.
Perception is reality.
You'll have to concentrate a bit. We'll probably not speak.
I think they're all very similar in terms of smoothness. We were to define going down the throat.
Yeah.
If I were to give one of them, if I were to rate these, or I would give one of them more, I think it would be 3.
Okay.
3 for me would, like, it's slightly sweeter. Maybe it's a palate thing, it's slightly sweeter and went down a little easier. 1 and 2 I think were similar in terms of smoothness.
So I like 3 as well. Yeah, I think it was the easiest of the 3 to drink for me.
Right.
2 was the harshest.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with it. It just felt quite strong.
Okay.
You know, hit me hard.
Sure.
And 1 was okay. 1, say I've had to, like, again, it's a little bit about taste personally, right? So I'd probably gravitate more towards a 3 than a 1 than a 2.
Okay. And you want to switch it now? Do you want to taste the other 3 as well?
Yeah. Is it the same 3?
No.
Jumbled again.
Oh, is it? Okay. Then I have to do all 3. Okay.
I want you to do that. I'm good. My quota for the week is done.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All these blind tastings, I really worry about. You can come across really wrong. Because the first time I think the wine industry tried to do this, and you know, the French wines, of course, were like, we're going to win this. It's, of course, the best wine is going to come out of Bordeaux. So, and then I think the wine that won or came close was like a $10 bottle or something from Napa Valley, right? And that's how kind of the Californian revolution started. I think they repeated that about 15, 20 years later in, I don't know, it was early 2000s or 2010s. And they did that again. This time people are like, yeah, you know, this time we'll put our best foot forward. It has to be French wines, right? That's going to win. And sure enough, French wines won. But I think the one that came narrowly second was actually wine from Jersey.
Okay.
And that's when New Jersey then started picking.
With your wine center.
And that's a $6 bottle. So there's like no correlation. And there's a category of goods called Veblen goods, right? Where the price and demand don't follow the same curve.
Okay.
Like general law of, basic law of demand is that if you drop prices, the demand will go up. In Veblen goods, if you increase prices, the demand will go up.
Correct.
So luxury watches, cars, possibly alcohol, bags.
Yeah.
Right? So, I don't know. I really worry about these things. I don't know if we've got it awfully wrong, at least from his perspective.
No, so I'll tell you what happens when you put people on a spot, right? It becomes more difficult to answer.
It's very hard.
Right?
It becomes, it really skews it.
And
Here, by the way, 3 was harsh. Like, 3 was harsh on this. 2 and 1 were, I was not able to differentiate in 2 and 1.
okay, so 3 is Royal Stag,
Oh, is it?
2 is Woodsman. In
2 is Woodsmen?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. And here?
3, what you chose is a bourbon whiskey, which is sweeter. I wanted to bring out the sweet aspect of it, and you're liking it. So that's the most premium. That's at 1,600 rupees, 3x.
This 3, oh,
Yes.
Okay. And between, what are these 2?
So 2 is again Woodsman, and 1 is Blender's Pride. So to differentiate, when you will taste a Blender's Pride, it's smooth, but it's bitter. It's high on bitterness. It's a woody palate. What we've done with, say, Woodsman, I'll probably, there's a peaty note and a fruity note to it.
Yeah.
So we have not taken the woody route that a Blender's Pride has. We have gone in for a peaty route. And the whiskey is comparatively sweeter or low on bitterness. And I think what you saw was the harshness. Now that's not smooth, right? What the harshness you felt in number 3, that's Royal Stag. So when you're competing against our price points, there's a difference that's easily discernible. But when you compete against higher ones, you have to be more like into it and to understand. So I think
What is 1 and this? What is 1?
1 is white and blue.
White and blue, not bad. I like white and blue also. I never thought.
What are the white Woodsman?
White and blue, Woodsman, Royal Stag in the competition.
And on the premium one?
Blender's Pride, Woodsman, Budweiser Magnum.
So Budweiser Magnum.
Yeah.
This I liked a lot. This is very cheap, but I think Woodsman and Blender's Pride kind of were similar.
So I think
Your Royal Stag was.
So what we'll do is after this, we can have the drink like how you like it, and like with ice, without ice, with soda, whatever, whichever way you
Actually,
like.
how I do it, like whiskey with a little bit of water.
I think what happens is, and I think what you're rightly saying is, the reason why wine has a small market in India is because you swallow it, you nose it. Now, this is not natural. You're drinking to enjoy and have fun. So the more you complicate it, the more people get intimidated and the lesser people will have it. So if wine wants to grow in this country, they need to move away from that feeling कि इसको nose करना है, इसको swallow करना है, swallow करना है.
You know, right? The 5 S's of wine. You know the 5 S's of wine? You know?
I'm not aware.
No, you straight. Okay. The 5 S's of wine are you're supposed to hold the glass like this, and the first S is smell. Okay. You're supposed to smell it and kind of whatever. Then the second one is swirl. You're supposed to, and swirling allows it to aerate. So the more you swirl it, the more it opens the taste.
In breathe.
Third is sip. Sip means sip, huh? Like it should be in your mouth, but that's pretty much it. Then fourth is swallow. And then it kind of, you take the experience from your mouth down your food pipe or whatever. And fifth, which is the most important part, is savor. So that's when you kind of go
aftertaste.
Yeah, the aftertaste, and you kind of like, and then you keep doing this. And by the way, people who drink wine are constantly swirling it, constantly like smelling it, then sipping it, then swallowing it, then savoring, and this process is constant. And people who like drink wine are constantly thinking of doing this. Like just 2 days back, I was with a friend of mine who, like actually my cousin, Shashwat, is an outstanding cocktail maker. Like he's become like this extremely, knowledgeable bartender. So whenever we have family get-togethers at his house, they're just amazing. He knows exactly how much. He will use chickpea instead of egg white for frothing because of the 15-minute aftertaste. He will know what bitter to use to garnish.
Right.
And he will have a toothpick with fig in it to give some kind of. So he's very knowledgeable. So he in fact, I was discussing Woodsmen with him.
Okay.
And I'll send you some of the things that he said about it. He's like, well, this is something very, very interesting. But it's a thing. But in that segment, I think people do it for a fix and like just for social drinking. I don't think there is affiliation to the process as much as there is to the things around the drink.
I think. See, another reason why whiskey is high in consumption is water, soda, easily accessible, right? With the wine, you have a perception it needs to be in a certain type of glass.
Yeah.
With whiskey, you can have it any way you like.
Glass.
You can mix it any way you like. So it's more friendly to the consumer.
That's so true.
So if you make things complicated and in a certain, it works for a certain audience, but for a larger audience, it probably complicates the matter for them. So keeping things simple is what I think works. The reason why we have positioned ourselves as just smooth is I think I was one of the investors in our company is the ex-APAC chairman of Coca-Cola, Atul Singh. And he told me, Shivam, ये कैन देखो आप थम्स अप का या कोका कोला का. थम्स अप में बड़ा थम्स अप है, दैट्स इट. एंड कोका कोला ठंडा मतलब कोका कोला, दैट रेड कलर कैन इज कोका कोला. They might have more features, they might have more to say, right? But you should not say more about your brand. You should know what is the best thing and associate the brand with just one word, because it's even difficult to establish that. Just one brand name and one word is enough. And I think they have done that beautifully. And that's when I think I had to force myself to declutter also. If I wanted to say more कि ये तो PT नोट, I don't say it. वो छोटा लिखा होगा, किसी ने पढ़ना होगा, they can read it. But I will not say it to the consumer. They can read it. And that's how I think decluttering or being very, very clear and simple and focused will help what the brand is promising to you and what can you expect from the brand.
I actually love I don't know, but when I saw this, I felt this was like a Glenlivet packaging. And this is what we were talking about, right? The pampering of the consumer.
Yes.
So if I'm sitting alone with this bottle, for example, I will feel like the bottle's talking to me. Aged in American oak, extra smooth. Like there's a certain royalty to the green that you've chosen. So I'm a big fan of great packaging. I think it makes a huge difference to the consumer experience for reasons that are truly emotional and, beyond the function of the product. But I think the fact that this mold of the bottle, it looks unique.
Yeah, this is a custom bottle.
Custom bottle, yeah, right? So the thing is shaped like this. You've chosen the right colors. I think the fonts there is a golden coppery feel to.
It's a copper. So the maximum people would use gold. We've gone in for copper. If you see the bottle, there are certain. It's engraved in at the back. There's this. The glass is slightly. So it's got a fiddle factor. Like I remember.
What is the fiddle factor?
Fiddle factor. It rubs. It feels. It has a good grip. It feels slightly. Had a better grip when you pour it. So I think I remember. I used to play football. I still do. Gatorade peete the. Gatorade has the bottle is very fiddly. Yeah. You feel very nice and you want to rub the bottle on. So it got a fiddle factor. So I thought, how do I somehow incorporate this? So the bottle is slightly leaner. So the grip at the bottom is more comfortable. So try to incorporate like a broad shoulder, a narrower waist. Try to maximize what can be done in that with the glass and that bottle, and try to bring a very aspirational or premium experience for this price point.
Talk about the brand a little bit. Like, what do you want? How did you come up with the name? What do you want the brand to say? What do you want people to feel? What are the tenets, right, of the brand?
So I think the name Woodsmen, it's targeted at men. The other brand names, competition brand names are Royal Stag, Royal Challenge, Royal Green. So that's a very, very, I think, one route that the market is following. And with us, we wanted to be more authentic and more natural. So I think Woods, the whiskey is aged in an oak barrel. It's rested. So say when a new whiskey goes into the barrel, there's winter time and summer time, wood will contract and expand. So how a person ages, like we are aging with, our mind is getting sharper, we're getting more. Same goes with the whiskey. It goes inside the cracks, comes out. It goes inside the cracks, comes out. So the whiskey smoothens. It acquires the character of the wood. It acquires the flavor of the wood and smoothens itself over time. Our shelf life for a oak barrel would be 15 years. But I think India being a tropical country, temperatures are higher, humidity is higher. So I would say a 5-year-old whiskey in India is as good as a 10-12-year-old whiskey coming from Scotland.
Just because of the
Temperature differences. So if you look at Amrut, no age statement. If you look at Paul John, no age statement. If you look at Rampur, no age statement. Wow. If you look at Cavalan, which is a fantastic single malt from Taiwan.
Yeah, Taiwanese.
No age statement. Americans don't make age statements. It's only Scotch that makes age statements.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I think I was just thinking out loud, maybe there was a prohibition time, or maybe there was a time when the factory was shut for a long period of time and the barrels were still aging. And again, when it opened, some smart marketing chap must have come and like how you were selling the rice basmati at 2-year-old.
That was the rice.
Yeah.
So perhaps that chap said, sir, let's probably label it age 10 years or age 12 years and market it to people as a selling point. And I think it's worked brilliantly, of course, but America also does not put age statement. Jack Daniels will not have any age statement. Maker's Mark would not have any age statement. So these are more younger whiskies, more flavorful whiskies, more playful whiskies. And I think Scotch is selling tradition. America sells entrepreneurship. India is yet to define itself. We are currently called Indian-made foreign liquor. So I'll come to the question we were asking before it. Indian-made foreign liquor.
That's what we call this, is it?
IMFL.
Yeah, that's the blend. VAT 69, the Blender's Pride and all of that is.
All the whiskies are called IMFL. Now that's pardon my language, but very poor choice of word, right?
Why? Is it like a regulation thing or what is it?
Why aren't we called just Indian whiskey?
Indian whiskey, yeah.
Right? Simply Indian whiskies. So I think the problem with the Indian whiskies is we don't have an identity. And that's the opportunity. If you define the identity very clearly, so for example, bourbon is popular. It has to be made with 51% corn. The rest of the grains can be wheat, rice, barley, maize. So it's 51% corn, aged for a minimum 2 years. So what you've done is build trust in the product. Some regulators or say association has made sure that you don't misuse the word. If you label the whiskey as bourbon, actually can be called corn whiskey. Now it's made with 51% corn, but they made a name called bourbon, which sounds more appealing. A newer player should not misuse it. If the rules are set, there is a certain standard to it, people can trust it. Same is done with Scotch. It is aged minimum 3 years in Scotland, bottled in Scotland. Whereas with India, I think that trend should start. And I think we would want to lead that creation of a new category called Himalayan whiskies. I feel Himalayas as a backdrop is global. It's the best water in the world. Tatas have Himalayan water. I think Catch water coming from Kullu DS Group is doing phenomenal. And I think inherently the water quality is brilliant in Himachal. And another reason for me to choose Himachal Pradesh as a state for manufacturing was this. 95% of the whiskies that come into Delhi and the north come in from a small town called Deravasi in Punjab, right? So, सब वहीं बन रही हैं, Delhi में allowed नहीं है. So, it costs a little bit more in logistics, but then you gain a lot more, right? You gain almost 60% of this is water. Now, if I don't care for it, and if you look at any global brand and you go to their website, they will show you how important the water is, right? And I'm not saying I'm the first person that's made the whiskey in Himachal, but none of the previous players are defining themselves very, very clearly for the consumer. And
you're absolutely right. I think if you look at, for example, the identity that Japanese whiskies have now started creating, at least in my mind, like Hibiki or the Suntory or Yamazaki or any, it's very clear it's rice and it's got a very different color.
Lighter.
Much lighter.
Yes. Yes.
But it's and the shelf throw of the Japanese font on the.
They own their culture.
Amazing.
They own their culture.
So and the bottles are kind of wider and more squarish.
Yes.
Really, really cool.
But for us to be able to do that, we need to be able to do that at a higher price point. We can't do it at a lower price point. And for that, if we need to be actually authentic, we need to own a copper still distillery. So there are two types of distilleries. One is grain, one is copper. A grain or a column still distillery is more industrial in nature. A typical investment would be 40 to 50 crores. It produces a grain spirit. So in India, we have rice. So again, the choice of grain, to be honest, is what the land gives you. Both Americans and Scottish people have marketed what grows on their land or what they can buy packaged very well. So 90% of Scotch whiskies that are blended, 90% is wheat, 10% is malt. On an average, it can of course vary. In the US, corn is what grows. It's in your Coke, it's in your Doritos, it's in almost every particular, some form of ingredient. Again, that's what they use in their whiskey. So India has rice and wheat. I think the northern belt is rich. We're exporting rice, right? So grain whiskies in India are made predominantly with rice. There might be a perception online that ये molasses से बन रहा है, sugar cane से बन रहा है, but that was yesteryear, right? I do agree that aging aspect is still, to be learned by this country. There has to be infrastructure around it, know-how around it. And the second piece is the malt that's made in a copper pot still. So everything of the design of the copper pot still, whether it's a long neck, it'll produce a softer whiskey or lighter whiskey. If it's a short neck, it'll produce a bolder whiskey. And that's the decision of the blender or the maker as to what kind of expression you want to. So some people will like the bolder expression. Some people would like a lighter expression. Some people like a fruitier expression. So that's when you have a range of at the top to be able to address to certain particular, mostly but blended whiskies sell in the world. So Johnny Walker is a blended whiskey. Chivas is a blended whiskey. Yeah, you add the best of both the worlds. I think India
flavor. Do you add flavor in this as well, which are external to the blend?
So I think this natural extract that's used, but no artificial flavors.
Wonderful. Can you explain a little bit about just in short in terms of what is business like and what the margin profile looks like right now?
Sure. So I think I've done a lot of mistakes in the beginning, a lot of learnings. There's no lineage in the space, so had to learn everything myself. You can't go to a school here or college here to quickly learn the art of whiskey making. So I think I learned from multiple people. After a lot of mistakes, Woodsmen was launched 1.5 years back. We did roughly 25-30 lakh rupees of net revenue in the first 6 months on a monthly basis.
That is what after excise, etc. comes to you.
Yes, net revenue.
That's the 170 rupees equivalent of this.
Yes. So we were selling roughly 2,000 cases.
So on a 550 rupee price point, after tax and everything, you come down to 170 rupees realized revenue.
Yes.
Okay.
So we were selling roughly or 20. That's when the first round happened. This was led by very good folks, F&B founders, Country Delight, Nitin and Chakradhar, Rohan and the entire Epigamiya team, founder of XFX Simon of Coca-Cola, Bala from Vadam, Arisha was a partner at Jungle Ventures. So these people came in, and I wanted to actually purposefully try to get F&B people because they understand distribution and understand the challenges, and probably to learn from them. So some people are 5 steps, 10 steps, 100 steps ahead of us, to just absorb what they've done and probably avoid some of the mistakes that can so these people came in, and soon after we were hitting 75 lakhs. In the last 12 months, I think Woodsmen has made some fantastic progress. We closed last month at net 2.5 crores.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So we've 10x.
But when we had met like 15-20 days back, we were aiming कि 2.2 हो सकता है, लेकिन 2.5 तक खींच लेंगे.
Yeah.
Well done.
So I think at this moment, the amount of capital we have, it's like we're right off the line, on the bottling line, it's going into the truck, it's moving to Delhi, it's getting sold. So I think fortunately, touchwood, the brand is being accepted by the consumers.
How many stores? And this is 2.5 crores only Delhi.
Only Delhi.
How many
Although
stores
we are
are
in
there?
3 states, Delhi, Chandigarh and Himachal. But last 4 months, we've been EBITDA positive.
Well done.
And I think the MIS has to come in, but back positive hopefully this month.
For March?
One or one, like not much. But
That's it.
so I think we shifted our focus. Okay, let's. We don't know how long of a runway we have, so we shifted our focus to streamlining everything and focusing just on this market. So the entire revenue is from Delhi right now. If we had more capital, I think another at least 60-70 lakhs more easily we would have achieved.
And this is just a working capital thing. You just needed more
money.
Entry out.
Yeah. I think from 25 lakhs to 2.5 crores, I think we've delivered on the goal that was set, or rather surpassed that was set in the previous round. And I think now it's time for.
How big is Royal Stack? How big is this business?
Royal Stag is, I think, net revenue 4,000 crores.
4,000.
Net revenue, right? Or gross?
So I think gross. So I think Pernod is a 20,000 crore
Net business, right?
gross business. Net would be roughly half.
Okay. So, sorry, say that again. So, RS is how large is that?
Net roughly 2,000 crores.
2,000 crores. Okay. And you're at 30, effectively.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's that boom.
Massive scope.
And do you see distribution as a challenge like this? Is there requirement for muscle in this?
Yeah, I was going to come to that. You've spoken so much about brand and product. My understanding was this business is built and broken at the very distributor level, right? If
Like what? Yeah, he's right. I think what I've heard is dealers will choose.
So I'll give you a small example. Delhi, now that we are doing this kind of revenue, has already started supporting my working capital. So why should people trust you in the beginning? What have you done that you will earn people's trust? You have to earn it. So when you walk into a state, first year, you need to prove yourself. Getting registered is not a challenge. It might be a perception from the outside that entering into a state might be a challenge, but I don't think so. It's that big of a challenge. First year, you need to. So now, say Woodsmen is doing well in Delhi. The word is already traveling to Haryana. It's already traveling to UP. It's already traveling to the neighboring states. Haryana, I'm being approached. Okay, we will fund your excise duty. You only need to fund your COGS. So already my bargaining power without even entering the state has increased, right? So once you do well, the word travels, and people want to associate with things that do well. And I give the whiskey to them and I tell them, don't give me any order. I don't want any order. You please test the whiskey with if you want to test it yourself or someone who is a consumer of this particular price point, that will be a better person to give you advice. So firstly, when they see it and I ask them the price, they say 3x is what the price is. So I win them over through my visual appeal first. And then I still say I don't want the order. I say, please taste it. And I will come back and seek what the result was and not the order. So we don't push in the beginning. We need to be more relaxed and be confident in what we are delivering and let them judge. And if they are comfortable, they will start with a small order. So we were in Delhi at 100 stores last year, 12 months back. We are at 500 stores now. Now that journey, the team can make an effort, and of course a good team really, really matters. So we've got, people who are 20 years into the business that understand distribution much better than what I do. People who are coming from, so I think Delhi is led by a person called Harpreet. He's from DS Group. He's started his career at HUL. These are deep distribution companies. So we'll take help from and build a team that understand that to the very core. At the moment, what we're doing is we've taken a software. We'll track data from the wholesale to the retail. We are mapping all 500, 600 outlets of Delhi, what their potential is in my price point, in the other price point. I will help my sales team to understand when they're walking into a store, they have all the data on their farm. They don't need to open whatever. So now when they see that this is the target for the month, this is the potential of the shop, this is what the competition does, this is what you did last month, this is what you've done up till date. If you're completely focused, it can be done.
Tell me something, you spoke about having people, surrounding yourself with people who understand this, who've done this before. You're new to this domain, right, in a way. What I want to ask, what is your personal superpower? What do you think that is, and how does that help you build this business?
I think my superpower would be I don't fear. I believe. And I hopefully attract people who can dream along in a big fashion and are not fearful of failing. Right? It's fine. Like, I want to have a moonshot. And it's okay. I might not make it a $4 billion business or a $3 billion business or even a $1 billion business, but I want to try. I don't want to try to make a 100 crore business. So I want to try. That can be foolish, that can be naive, but I want to try. And I'm okay. So I made a ton of mistakes and I will probably do even more, but I will continue to learn and I will continue to better myself and continue to better my team and continue to better my product. I will never say this is the best. At the moment it is, but I will continue to make sure that how can I be even more better? How can I serve the consumer better? How can I serve my team better? How can I serve the market better? How can I finance my business in a better manner? Not necessarily it has to be equity. Not necessarily the debt has to come from India. Right? So how do we keep improving in all the spheres that impact the business?
How big do you think the business will be 1 year from now, March of 2024?
If there's an infusion of say 15 crores.
Let's say all things go well as per plan.
6-7 crores net revenue. 3x, roughly 3x, 2.5, 3x what we are right now.
And still only Delhi or you'll try to?
So Delhi we'll double down and we'll open Haryana. So one more state, and I think we should be good to deliver this. We don't need to go to the south right now. I think after that, once there's a good amount of money that's there in the system, and then you.
And will you be immediately launching whiskeys in the 800-900 price point now? Also, do you already have a brand in that price point?
Yes, but again, accepting that there's certain improvements, so we're doing that.
What's it
but
called?
It's called Black Bow. So we are working on the blend, and I think once we are satisfied that it can take to the market, we'll go.
The 6-7 crores is primarily Woodsmen then?
Yes.
And what's the investment ask this time?
10 crores.
10 crores. And what are you thought of a valuation of the business?
Roughly, so there's flexibility there, of course, but roughly 135 crore pre-money.
You're pricing it at net run rate times 4.5.
4.5.
And what Pernod, Diageo, these guys are trading at what?
Diageo is trading at 7x.
Of gross or net?
Net. UB Group traded 6.6, 6.5. Radico Khaitan trades at 5, 5.5.
What is Bira's valuation multiple if you win? Like Yano's private?
I think Ankur Jain is just too... he's a brilliant, but he's too lucky. Maybe 10, 12, 15, I don't know. I don't know. The information is not public, but I think... And probably the brand deserves it. That's why he's getting it. And someone is giving it to him, so he will take it. But I think I've understood this aspect of how to value from my investors only, right? I have Bala who guides me. I have other people. He says, leave something on the table. They should be comfortable. You should price, not overprice, not underprice. Because I think even underpricing is saying you're not confident in your own company. Yeah. So underpricing is also, of course, someone coming in would want to get the best price out of it. But I have to also defend.
But being reasonable to, shareholders, future shareholders, right? It's. I'm not saying this because I'm VC now.
So what do you are? You're representing the equity seekers on this.
That's terrific advice because as a founder, you always are fighting tooth and nail. You're trying to optimize every round. I think just being fair and reasonable is just terrific. It builds so much equity with people. And frankly, these journeys are going to be long, right? You don't want to optimize a little bit here and there and win something. I think you're being, frankly, fairly reasonable.
Forget about that. Overvaluing a business and then putting yourself under the pressure to grow into the valuation is you make so many wrong short-term calls. So many wrong short-term calls that I agree with him completely.
I think the idea is the value will be created in long term.
Yeah.
So the idea is to get the right people who also think long term, and that I think that's also very, very, very important. That one has a longer term incoming investor has a longer term horizon, and they are willing to wait. I don't know. I want to build a profitable business. I don't want to intend to burn money. Bira has grown, but I face this question a lot when I'm having these calls that that's the beer space. Now to give you a breakdown, beer margins are thinner. It's more capital intensive. You have to be closer to the market, right? Beer expires in 6 months. It's a refrigeration business. I can give 10 things that work better in the favor of the spirits market. Margins are higher.
This is 45% GM.
46% GM right now. Will go up to 50%.
As opposed to beer, what GMs do you get in beer?
30 to 40%. Again, price matters, but again, they're
so even at your 550 going down to 170 realized, you make 46% in gross margin at this price point.
Gross, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Wow.
Amazing. Can you give us 5-10 minutes? We'll just quickly, if something else you want to ask, give us quickly.
Good. Kudos on all the progress.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll just give us 5 minutes.
Yes,
We'll, I think someone will just kind of usher you in. Thoughts?
I think overall, I really liked him as a founder. I think the final question we were asking about, what's your superpower, that sort of unlocked some of the thing in him. And it comes out what his real passion is behind doing this. And I always think about whether, this founder, while great overall, are they the right fit for this business? That was a big question for me coming on. Some part of that still remained unanswered because of the distribution side. But I think, from a product standpoint, from a brand standpoint, I think he's quite good. Particularly as you adjust for his age and how much time he's had. I feel like his learning curve has been terrific. So overall, really like the founder. Fairly, has thought about it a lot. It has strong views on, where he should play. I thought the traction is great as well. I think on the business, I wouldn't have expected a 30 crore run rate kind of business coming in.
From one city, man.
from one city. He's not spent too much capital doing that. How much has he spent?
We'll have to ask him. I think he spent 2 or 3 crores.
Yeah. So
Profitable businesses. So I think not different.
So all of that looks like interesting. On the business itself, you asked about, do you need to muscle in, etc. I don't know if I got my answer to that question fully. But the fact he's already doing that in a place like Delhi, which is fairly kind of out there.
It's not even Gurgaon, by the way.
Yeah.
It doesn't even include Gurgaon.
Yeah. I like that. I also thought he's segmented the market right. I think this is the right sort of opportunity. I worry about 2 things here. One is going up the brand, which, going more upscale. That is extremely hard. Yeah. You can always come down, right? You can do a light and express and minus and something. You can do that. Building pluses are higher. So it'll have to be black bow or it'll have to be something else. Yeah. And that takes away some of the good work you've done in making Woodsmen a good brand. So going up is harder. And I worry about that he's starting almost too low to be able to get to that, 1,200 rupee price point, which I think can be a fantastic place for him to be. Particularly as his early consumers, grow up themselves and they're moving on. They'll move away from, does he have something to do? Second, I think while he's thought a lot about the product, the initial look and feel, the value proposition, etc., I think there is some amount of help that he would need as he thinks about how to communicate his value prop beyond the functional. Yeah. Yes, it is truly smooth. But what does it make you feel? Yeah. I think this, great marketing puts customers back in focus, right? We were talking about how Jobs spoke about Nike, right? They don't talk about how great their shoe is. Their shoe is great, but it's not necessarily what they want to talk about. They celebrate great athletes. Yeah. And they celebrate great athletics.
Correct.
Right? Apple does the same. And a brand has to get there. I know, and this is initial phase. So, but I haven't seen enough sparks now. Yeah. Maybe given his learning journey, he can do that, particularly with people like his investors who've built good brands or yourself. Maybe he can get there.
No, I agree. No, I can't disagree on anything. What blew me away was his insight on consumer. He knows exactly how consumers drink. He knows who the consumer is. He knows how they drink. He knows when they drink. He's very much in touch with the emotion of the... It's a complicated use case, yaar. Like shaving is a simple use case. Aadmi jata hai, shave karta hai, nikalta hai. Like it's a simple use case. This is complicated. Social, it's alone. It's a pressure cooker situation, which is a release, but it's also fun with friends. There's music involved. He also understands that whiskey is a low friction product. It doesn't require glasses and, or it just requires any glass and any mixer and you're good to go. I love that he's thinking about the fact that he wants the consumer to be proud of the brand that he's drinking. It should be above the table. Some of these things show very, like the person's ear is very close to the ground on consumption. And I think that is fascinating to me. This is a huge market and it is, like, aap batao mere ko, Royal Stag, McDowell's #1, Officer's Choice, these things don't stand for anything today. These brands don't stand for anything in my mind. They're just what I call sticky revenue for the sake of the fact that there is no other competition today. This is a rightful disruption, yaar. अगर आप RS वाले सबसे लॉयल कंज्यूमर को भी पूछो ना क्यों पी रहा है, it is habit and it is just कि हाँ पता नहीं और क्या है. But if you are able to provide something super aspirational at the same price and it's smoother, the jump will be insane. So for me, what I love about, and you're right, I think figuring out how to ladder the brand or ladder brands and to distribute in a way that is efficient, and he'll have to understand, like they are tricky distribution systems, right? There is a certain amount of lobbying, politics, government. Alcohol is not easy and not straightforward. So there are clear, but I think large market and the guy gets the consumer. So I think these are two, and what he has done with this 30 crore business on a product that looks 3 times more expensive than it is incredible. It is incredible. And everyone has gone the gin way, man. Like every alcohol, he's right. Everyone's building for South Delhi or South Bombay or Bangalore. Like everyone's trying to build for those. But real India is here. And somehow he gets that consumer very well. So that really excites me about. I think he'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Would you put money from Barbershop at the value?
Yeah, I think combination of large TAM here, something that's an opportunity to create a new category and own that category, be a category leader. Maybe some others will follow. Coupled with his own intrinsics, added to that the traction that he already has and the pricing for the round, which I felt was quite reasonable.
Yeah.
I think make it a yes for me.
Awesome. Let's make the offer. Let's see where he lands. We obviously won't be able to underwrite a large part of the round.
Yeah.
But we can be the first domino that falls in his round. Hopefully his internals might come in as well, so that can take care of 70-80% and then let him get some.
Sure.
Amazing. Cool. We should call him in here. Shivam, this was Rahul and I had a fascinating discussion with you, man. Absolutely fascinating. First of all, congratulations on building something truly, truly remarkable and with so much potential for doing something amazing. We love the fact that you don't want to build just 100. By the way, building 100 crore business is tough, and 100 crore is sizable. People don't realize 100 crore is 10,000 lakhs. Like it's and in your case, that probably means 40,000 lakhs of actual consumer purchases. But having said that, just the fact that you want to build a large business is amazing. What we loved, and you should just keep adding if I'm missing out. What we love is that it's a large market and one that is truly, truly ripe for disruption. We genuinely believe that the whiskey market is the belly of Indian alcohol consumption. Not a lot has happened there in terms of innovation. I think what they've built with those brands is amazing, but I think there is a lot that I think the new age consumer wants a lot more, right? So I think that's exciting. I think the second thing is your personal understanding of the consumer and the market is actually outstanding. And it comes in the details. It doesn't come in large stats and the maths. I think it comes in the detail. It comes in knowing that your consumer wants to put the whiskey bottle on the table and that's what you want to kind of make that happen. Or it comes from knowing that we were discussing that alcohol consumption is complicated. It's social, it's alone, it's 5 times a week, 1 time a week. Pricing, is it a commodity? Is it a price? It's not, it's before the food, after the food, how much. The fact that that whiskey is a seamless drinking experience. Unlike wine, for example, where you don't really need fancy glasses or whatever. You just need some water, some soda, or any mixer and you can start having, right? I think your understanding of the fact that water matters, for example, or understanding of what makes a good whiskey great is amazing. So as a founder, we absolutely loved how close you are to the consumer and the product experience. I think it shows in not only the way you talk about it, but also what you have built. I think just building out something that looks 3 times more expensive than it is, with I know investing in a mold, for example, is a tricky call. You could easily take something off the shelf, but you're like, no, broad shoulder, narrow waist, easy to hold at the bottom, something with royalty for that consumer. So I think we absolutely love that. Third thing is, I think building a 500 store, 30 crore per year traction business, which is profitable in this space is remarkable in 1.5 years. I think the challenges and something which you should look forward to solving as you go. I think this is distribution systems which are complex, right? There's government overlays. We all know about the Ponti Chaddas, and these are not easy businesses by any stretch of imagination. They're not straightforward, and you're young and you have energy, and I love that you're optimistic. Agar acha product le, sure, but as you kind of expand, you go into from 500 to 5,000 stores, there'll be challenges that you probably aren't seeing today, and you need to be aware of it. So bringing in experts from this industry who will foresee it along with you is super important. I think the second challenge with Rahul is it may be likely that in the enthusiasm to marry value and aspiration so closely, you may have underpriced and you may have said 550 is great, 10% premium to Royal Stag, but I'm not sure whether the sweet spot is a 550 rupee whiskey. Is it 650? Is it 750? Or is it actually like taking Blender's Pride and Signature head on and saying, do I want something at 900? Or even saying, okay, fine.
So we will have a Woodsman at say 750.
So will Woodsman be the brand? Because taking a brand up is always more expensive. Like, it's harder.
Correct.
Building a new brand is expensive. Taking a brand up is harder. So is it a combination of that? Like, what do you really do? But again, look, problems for the future. And it's never a straightforward journey. So I think that's where we land. Anything
No, I'm just going to reinforce the point about you really understanding the consumer well, right? Being really clued in. There's a big opportunity for you personally, I think, to turn that into a terrific brand identity. You've already, somewhat of the way there, but I think you can go a step further. This is, just going good to great. For example, when you think about why this matters to the consumer and communicating that, smooth is the whiskey, but what does it do to the consumer, and putting them back in center. Like, you came up on the fly on a smooth drink for a hard day. That's just not a tagline. That's also, you're just talking to the consumer head on, and talking about the value prop there. So thinking hard about what you want the brand to stand for over a long period of time. Right. Smooth whiskeys to aur bhi aayegi.
Correct.
But what is it that you truly own in the minds of the consumer? Right, I was giving the Nike example, right? Don't need to talk about your shoes anymore. I think that you'll get there at some point in time, I think, right? With what you're doing. What do you do? And there's a very large opportunity for you personally to grow as a founder and for the brand to grow. We are very excited about that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think brand lighting is always functional, emotional, cultural.
Yes.
And Nike is one amazing example globally. Amul is a fantastic example locally. Like, Amul is now cultural. It's not emotional anymore. Amul is now pop culture. Right. Butter and cheese to badhiya hai, but it now stands for pop culture. So we would love to be part of the journey, man.
Thank you.
We would love to be part of the journey. I think you've priced the round fairly. What we want to do is, I think we would like to come in with a 1 crore check. Okay. I understand that your internal investors also might want to put in some, so you should talk to them. Okay. We're happy to be the first domino that falls, that leads this, like underwriting 10% of the round.
Right.
If we are the largest check externally, then we would want to kind of go deeper and see maybe 1 or 2 months more to see, because March is a tricky month to value the business on. Okay. There's always a pipelining effect. Like, we all know there's a window dressing of this. So maybe look at 3 months.
Previous numbers for the quarter, it's 2 crores roughly.
So that's the thing, right? Is it a 20 crore business or is it a 30 crore business or like whatever, right? And then we can put the same multiple, that 4.5 multiple that you have on a rolling 3 months thing. If we are the lead investor, I mean, just purely from being completely true to value. But I think the ballpark is very clear and it's very reasonable. We can do 4.5 times of rolling revenue. But why don't you kind of construct the round around this? Like, I would love for you to, meet some of, like Ravi Nigam, for example, who's a Tasty Bite founder, a board member at Bombay Shaving Company, understands food beautifully, as an investor, a prolific angel. Rahul knows him well. So start meeting some of these people in the barbershop.
Sure.
And take this as an in principle, if you're okay to accept it. And if there is a large, if someone is going to underwrite $1 million out of this 10 crores, then we are very happy for them and you to price around, and we'll come in at whatever terms they suggest, pari passu and rights being the same. But if that is okay to you, I would love to shake hands.
Fantastic. I think it feels great that I think what you have particularly built with Bombay Shaving is you now being celebrated as a founder, and you doing a fantastic job with Barbershop as well. I think fantastic to be learning from you in the future. And even now, I think we learn from afar. I think I've seen almost all episodes of the Barbershop. So I think podcast is a new way to learn a lot about a lot of industries and probably imply or try to get something to your business. I think thank you for doing that. And I think India needs it, and I think younger founders definitely need it, who are trying to make inroads into a complicated, sphere, and it's very real. So you have to defend, you have to have the right strategy in place. So I think across, I think you speak with a lot of people like Rahul, who will come in from his own, experience and of building Treebo and the challenges of the hotel industry, and I think other people also bring in their own respective experiences to the podcast. So I think thank you for doing that, and I'm really excited that you guys would join this round.
Absolutely. You're the founder. You decide whether how to construct the round. We're very happy to help. I think Rahul is someone who has
And definitely with help.
He's been a mentor to me for a long time. We spoke very, very openly about it in the podcast. But founders help each other always. Like, you can, whether you are a current founder, you are a VC, you could be an operator, whatever. Once a founder, always a founder. So they're both available in addition to the 75 people who will come to this. So you decide. Woodsmen is your baby. It's your business, and you have the most to gain and you have the most to lose if things go either way. We just want to be part of it and try to make sure that the chances of you winning big are as high as possible from our side, to be honest.
And enjoy some whiskey as well.
Oh, yeah, sure, dude, the fact that we have 2 more shoots after this and that we're going to go into them kind of drunk will come down to you, by the way. So there will be a disclaimer that the Woodsman episode was precursor to these, so please excuse these today. I'm just kidding. But absolutely, we'd love to casually have more fun with you. I think there'll be a fun investment to do as well. Like, Bombay Shaving Company, how much fun will you have with people shaving in a bathroom with a basin? Like, this is really good stuff. So congratulations on what you've done, and thank you so much for accepting our
Thank you.
You should shake on it.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Awesome.